Doctrine and Devotion is sponsored by Together for the Gospel. Together for the Gospel is going down April 14th through the 16th in Louisville, Kentucky, and registration is now open, and you've already heard about it. Our listeners are getting a special Doctrine and Devotion discount. Just use the promo code DOCTRINE when you're checking out and save $10. Go to t4g.org for all the details and to register. Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion, a podcast exploring Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jimmy Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
It's almost time for us to go to California.
Yep.
I mean, it is
like 2 days away.
2 days away.
Today is Wednesday. This drops tomorrow, Thursday. We fly out Friday.
Yeah, can't wait. We've already sent out the information to our attendees that about the Friday night hangout.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to send it out again.
Yeah, because we've got more people registering.
Yep. More people keep registering. So make sure you get on that before,
Oh, it's going to be good. Going to be hanging out the night before, 7 to 10, just chilling at a special location. We can't say it on air because we don't want all you crazy people just showing up.
Yeah, that's right. You got to pay to play.
That's right. And you know what? We're worth it.
So let's not say that because some people are going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Well, you know who's not going to be disappointed?
Oh,
Matt Carabiner.
Oh, the Carabiner's going?
Carabiner's going.
Carabiner's
He's registered. He's going to be. Cindy Weeks is going.
Yep. Fandy.
Dave Fandy.
I'm a fan of Fandy.
Yeah, everybody is. Everybody likes Dave Fandy. He's godly. He's like cool California guy.
Oh, you know who I'm really looking forward to seeing? Bradley
Cooper?
Yeah, Bradley Cooper is coming to our conference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Brandon Lincolns.
Who's Bradley Lincolns?
He's from, I see him every time I go to Vegas. I hang out with him there. Yeah, he's the guy from Vegas so he can this is close enough that he's able to go. So
you know who else is going to be there?
Who?
Chris Pobletti.
Oh, never forget it.
Mom Spaghetti. I can't wait.
Chris Pobletti.
It's going to be so fun, man. I'm really looking forward to it. It's it's definitely a new thing for us, man. Going out there, doing our thing out in California. Because we're not California folk. We're Midwest. That's what we are.
Yeah, but I enjoy the California life in the sense of just staring at the ocean. I guess that's what I anticipate California life is. At least that's what my life in California would be.
Right, yeah.
Just out in the ocean.
And it's you get down there, you're close to home and everything. It's a pretty cool place.
Wait, say it again?
What?
Repeat that?
What I don't know.
Did you just say I'm closer to home?
Yeah, we all like to get back to our roots.
What are you insinuating here?
If we were to go to California, then you're close to the border,
But what does that got to do with me? You mean, because I was born in Texas?
I thought you were.
Because I was born in Texas?
Yeah, but your ancestry.
What do you mean? What's my ancestry, Joe?
Pretty sure it's Mexican.
No, you're wrong.
So,
it's not Mexican.
No, I know it's not. It's the Hawaiian Islands.
What is wrong with you?
My wife was speaking at this event in South Dakota. Right. Mm-hmm. So she goes to all these events, speaks all over the place. And every time somebody comes up to her and she goes, I love your husband's podcast, him and the Fofo, and they talk all about it. But this time somebody went, I love the podcast. Joe does such a great job. And I love his Hawaiian co-host. That's pretty great. Pretty great. Pretty great. Listen, you're exotic. You could pass for you are like Catherine Zeta-Jones. You could be like anything.
I could be anything
except white. Yes, you could be anything.
What is wrong?
I'm just saying, you could pass for all kinds of ethnicities. That's cool.
Yeah. It feels real.
You're
cool.
an ethnic chameleon.
Yeah, it feels really cool when I'm going through the TSA.
Oh, listen. Okay, we've told many stories about how the TSA has gotten up in your, we'll call it business.
We'll say business,
but not anymore. Not anymore, because you're in the rich guy line now.
I got that global entry.
Yeah, I'm not. So you'll be departing from me tomorrow. You'll be going through the special,
I think you get it.
No, I've tried. We tried this last time.
No. You get it because I got it.
Yeah, we tried that last time.
Why does it not work for you? Anyone else where I arrange, transportation that they're going with me, they receive the
because you're carrying like they look at your shoes, they're shined, and they look at that bag that you're carrying, that saddleback leather, and then they look at me and they go, "This guy looks like Jesse Pinkman, but still like strung out," and like they're just not. They don't. I don't know. But anyway, hey, listen, we got a message from a listener, and I know you know this, but our listeners don't know this, and he was saying, "Hey, man, you know what? I'm new to Calvinism, and I'm vibing with it. I really feel like this is what I see in Scripture, but the system is new, and I don't know really what to read, and I'm getting a lot of pushback from family. What are 10 books that I should read?" And that sort of got us thinking about like, well, if we're really going to recommend 10 books that a young Calvinist should read, what we're really doing is we're trying to create a Calvinist, right? Because there's different kinds of Calvinists, and depending on kind of the path that you could walk down the you could walk down the Doug Wilson path and become a Calvinist like that.
The Federal Vision.
Yeah, you could go down. How about?
Well, I think actually he says he's not.
I know. Yeah,
I know. I'm just saying.
He also says he's not racist. So whatever.
Stop it. I'm just on one of those.
It's just a lot of things.
I just want to say very clearly he says he's not.
Yeah. You say you're the podcast husband. Okay. Well, we all say a lot of things, Jimmy. They don't mean it's true.
Yeah, you did tell us you were 5'7". Some things are just not true.
I didn't. I've never in my life said I was 5'7".
Oh, stop it.
Nope. 5'5".
You've never said 5'5".
Oh, yeah, I always say 5'5".
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. Now, for a while, I thought I was 5'6", so I went to the doctors, and at the time I was 5'5".
Well, that's because you went down.
Yeah, I keep shrinking. My wife just pointed out to me, she goes, "No, Rob measured you at a CG, a community group, and you were 5'4". But I think that was measurement error. So, at any rate. So really, you could go down the John MacArthur path, right? Yeah. And that's not necessarily bad. I'm just saying, like, you're going to read certain books, and if you don't, especially early on, if you don't read the right books, you could wind up imbalanced, lopsided. You kind of get, we tend to get dialed into one particular thing or perspective. And so as we were talking about like, well, what would be the books that we would want to read and encourage people to read? We've got a list here. So let's talk about some of the more important books for a Calvinist to read in the first year or so of his Calvinist walk.
10 books in first year?
Yeah. Well, it's less than a book a month. And let's just say, is it more than a book a month? What the point is, if you're reading one book a month, you can read 12. So like, now, like one of them is going to be a systematic theology. So you're not necessarily, break that down. Now I read,
I know.
I read Hodges' 3-volume in a year when I was a new Christian. So I mean, it can be done.
Yeah.
But
not all of us are Joe freaking Thorne.
Thank goodness the world can't. There can only be one. So Jimmy, what? Let's bring up our list here.
Yep. I'm looking at it.
Pick one. Pick one from this list. What is a book that you would say this is something that a young Calvinist should definitely read to help him develop a healthy, well-rounded Calvinism that isn't bizarro?
The one I really, really like is Vital Godliness by Plummer. The Plumber.
That book, first of all, if you can find it, get that hardcover facsimile edition.
I think you got me that hardcover.
Yeah, it's great. It is.
I think you gave it to me as a gift.
It is. It's a huge book, but
no, never mind. You told my wife to get it for me.
That's what it was.
It
is same thing though. Pretty much every Christmas. Merry Christmas, Jimmy.
Yeah. I mean, it would be great if it was coming from your account, not mine. But yes.
Yeah, why would I change things? It's a giant book, but it's got huge margins and giant print. So it's really not that big of a book. But Vital Godliness, Jimmy, what's it about?
Yeah, I mean, really what it's talking about is that intimacy, that affection with Christ, that how we are to really cling to him, and there should be this change in the believer.
Mm-hmm. And it's broken down into different chapters. Like it's got chapters on backsliding and spiritual darkness, as well as joy. So it covers all of these experiences in the Christian life. It's called Vital Godliness, a treatise on experimental and practical piety. See, a lot of times
that's the part I love, right? Yeah. That's what I love about some of these writers that we should be reading because they don't divorce the two, right? They don't divorce doctrine and experience, or doctrine and devotion.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you
go.
Hence the podcast.
Listen, that is the book that changed my life. when I was just about done at Moody for Bible college, because I had been reading all this Reformed literature, but mostly systematic theology, sort of abstracts and sort of, the things that are not necessarily experientially oriented. I've read a few things, but that was the book that God used to just completely shatter a lot of the, not all, of course, but a lot of the arrogance and pugnacity that was true of me. And so, yeah, I agree, Jimmy. That is a great one. So let's go with a more foundational doctrinal book and say The Reformed Doctrine of Predestination by Lorraine Bettner.
Oh,
that's a dude.
Yeah, I know.
Lorraine, but I'm just telling our listeners might not know if you haven't read that book. Now that book,
you do allow lady preachers, so you might
you
be okay.
allow lady preachers. In fact, with your hair, you basically are a lady preacher, Jimmy. That book is great. And it doesn't just cover predestination. It actually walks through on the back end the 5 points of Calvinism and everything. But it is a foundational work. It's not hard to read. And it will serve you well. It will establish you in these doctrines and give you a place from which you can actually begin to talk to other people and even teach. I can't recommend it enough. And if you're going to take these doctrines seriously, that is a great place to start.
I mean, and then speaking of like taking things seriously, I know we've talked about this. We've actually brought this up a number of times. What about Thomas Watson on the 10 Commandments? I know you absolutely love that work.
Everybody loves Watson, who reads the Puritans and comes across him because he is readable. You don't even feel like you're reading somebody from the 17th century for the most part. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you're going to take Reformed theology seriously, you're going to need a good treatment of the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
So this is accessible, really, really good. My wife and I read that out loud to each other when we were dating at the river after church on Sundays.
Be still my beating
heart. That's why we have 4 kids. That sets you up. Romance.
Reading Watson?
Reading Watson before you're married just builds up the romantic tension, we'll call it, so that conjugal love later on, as Baxter refers to it, that conjugal love is in a fervor once you get married, and then you have all those kids.
Everyone's blushing right now, and I can't really imagine you in a fervor.
No, I don't really do the fervor. No, I don't.
More like a flame out.
Yeah, I just kind of. Meh. That's all right.
Good thing Jen doesn't listen.
Man, seriously, 10 Commandments, it's just great. And what's great about this is, a Reformed treatment, or even good treatment, but a Reformed treatment, Puritan treatment of the 10 Commandments will take something like a command that is a positive, like honor your father and mother, and then it'll show you what the negatives are. Or it'll take like a negative, do not bear false witness, and it'll say, well, here are the positives of that. So the 9th commandment, don't bear false witness. Here's what it means you should be doing positively, which is defending your neighbor when somebody is speaking against him and lying about him. And whether he's your buddy or not, you stand up for those who are being maligned.
Now, I'm actually I'm glad you said that, because I'm using part of Watson for the DACA Devo conference.
Ooh, for one of your talks that you're still not done with?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, sorry, what was that? Are you?
Yeah, I'm done.
Are you done with both talks?
It's spirit.
You could preach them.
I could preach them.
Yeah.
But just because.
By the way, everybody's always working on their talks to the very last minute.
Yeah.
They're done.
Yeah. So just as we get into like when I'm going to about contending for unity, right? And so then what does it mean though? To stand up for your fellow brethren, right? Like when people are slandering them, and you see that, well, part of unity is defending them.
That's right. And you're not pursuing unity just with the Calvinists. You're pursuing unity within the larger body of Christ.
That's right.
And so I think that's really good, man. I can't wait to hear that. Jimmy's been sharing his outlines with me. Very good.
Thank you.
I'm legitimately excited. I mean, I'm not going to listen, but
thank you,
but
John.
I hope that they're good.
So doctrinedevotion.com/West. You've got time if you're over there, Southern Orange County.
Yeah, it's going to be good. All right, so let's see. What else, Jimmy? How about, okay, this is good. We'll do this. There's some obvious ones that we're going to hit. We'll save those for later. I am going to say Quest for Meekness and Quietness of Spirit by Matthew Henry.
Ooh, I don't think I've read that.
That is the best treatment on humility that you will read.
No wonder I haven't read it.
Yeah, you read C.J. Mahaney. Okay, that's your problem. You read C.J.
The Power
Mahaney
of Pride
on humility. All right. Now listen, that is actually a good book. His book on humility is good. But Quest for Meekness and Quietness of Spirit, man, it is a little book, a tiny book. Get that green hardcover. I think the publisher is Soli Deo Gloria. But you can read it online for free. But this is important because when you start to get into theology, especially Calvinism, the tendency is to get a little puffed up.
Oh,
get a little proud.
You mean those cage stagers?
Get a little cage stagey. And if you want to be like free range, you gotta
free range.
Yeah, you want to be free range Calvinist. You want to be cage stage.
Well, I don't even know if I want the free range.
Oh yeah, well, because you don't believe in freedom. I know you're Calvinist. You're like bondage. But this is really good, and for those of you that struggle with anger as well, this was the thing that God used outside of Scripture or in addition to Scripture to help me deal with a lot of my anger issues. So yeah. I think that's a good one for me. If we're going to Frankenstein a Calvinist, yep. I think that helps to sort of strengthen and calm the heart. That's what I would say about that book.
So I think though, part of just for any believer is to study doctrine, right? Like you want to kind of look at Scripture, and there's some good systematics out there. And I know we've discussed things like Wayne Grudem.
No Way Wayne.
There's others. You talk about Hodge, right?
3 volume. Yep, it's good.
There's others out there, but I mean, for my money, I'm still just a big fan of Berkhoff.
Oh, for sure.
I just love the way how he breaks it down, how he starts, just like how deep he goes, and just in much more detail than some of the more, I guess, general stuff that you'll read for
the popular stuff. Like people will use Grudem as a starter, but it's not a proper systemat, right? It's not dealing with philosophy and history and stuff like that. Berkhoff is a proper systemat, and it really is the sort of the what do you call it? The starter version of Bavinck, right? He basically rips off Bavinck and gives you like a short, tiny one, because Bavinck is 4 volumes and it's huge. Yeah. Each one of his volumes is as big as Berkhoff's volume. Yeah, I think you're right. And until we have a good Reformed Baptist systematic theology, which we do not have.
Yeah.
Hey, RBAP.
Yeah, I was about to say, why
don't you do something?
Come on, Doc. Doc's got to put something together.
Hey, listen, why don't you guys stop putting out those little tiny books and put out a systemat? Why don't you do it? Come on, you got the brain.
That's really funny. That's really funny for you to say. Don't put out a little book.
Yeah, I put out little books because I got the little brain.
Don't put out a little book because that's my area.
That is my area.
That's my
Stay in your lane, guys.
Little man, little book for my little market.
That's right. So Berkhoff, I totally agree. You know what you should read if you're a Calvinist, especially in that first year or so early on? Read Luther's Bondage of the Will. You're not going to read a ton of Luther. People will get his commentary on Romans and whatever. But man, Luther's Bondage of the Will. You should read Bondage of the Will because A, it's a great treatment on the subject. But also B, it's funny. Because Luther is dogging Erasmus the whole time. It's basically a response. And so he'll say things like this. He'll say things like, I'm just pulling this from memory, so it's not going to be an exact quote. But he'll say things like, hey, Erasmus, you're like really smart and you're a really good writer. But what you have written is so bad, it's like putting dung on a golden plate. So you shouldn't talk that way to people, but you know what? You can enjoy someone else talking to them that way. And Luther's Bondage of the Will is great. So yeah, it's all about human will, and he covers things like, well, why would God command you to do something you can't do, right? In your fallen state, and he answers that question. It's actually very beautiful. So I'm going to say Luther's Bondage of the Will. That's a good one.
That's good. Now, one that I'm looking forward to. I've only read the back cover, the introduction. And I've gone through just kind of like skimming it. But this weekend, actually, I'm going to take it with me when we go.
Read it on the plane.
I'm going to read it on the plane there. Is Sam Renihan's The Mystery of Christ that you can get from Founders there.
Oh, man.
I'm excited. I just love anything by Renihan.
Any Renihan.
Yeah.
Junior. Well, he's not a junior, but yeah, the younger Renihan or the elder Renihan.
Yeah.
Those guys are brilliant. Sam looks like he's 15 if you've ever seen a picture of him. He looks like really young looking, but he likes metal.
Oh, does he?
Yes, he does.
Oh, that's why
he likes some metal.
Kindred spirit.
And you can tell because Reformed Baptist metal guys, they're always the sharpest, the best writers. So,
oh, really?
Anyway,
and they write the small books.
I haven't read this book. It's a good size. It's not too big.
Yeah.
It's not too small either. It's a great intro to a Baptist covenantal theology. We finally have one that is like it's a proper treatment. It's the whole thing. I mean, I think you could supplement that with Pascal Denal's.
That's another good one.
Yeah, the distinctiveness of Baptist covenant theology.
Yes, that's really good. That's really good for a French Canadian.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like Joseph Smith Golden Plates level. I mean, because the French Canadian, do they do anything up there? Is he the only good French Canadian? No. George St. Pierre.
Oh,
okay.
Gotcha.
So I would say maybe get that with it. So read Renahan's Mystery of Christ, which I've only started to read it. I'm loving it. But then also get Pascal Denal's book as a complement to that, because that'll walk you through the ways in which Baptist covenant theology or Credo Baptist covenant theology differs from Paedo Baptist covenant theology.
So one of the things, though, is that, you look online, you can probably find some of these things at a cheaper cost or sometimes even free. But you want to you want to read wide, right? You want to go ahead and take in what you can. And, what's a good spot to go ahead and grab some more books? TGC. Together for the Gospel is what I meant to say.
I think you mean T4G.
Yeah, I meant T4G, but I said
TGC is the Gospel Coalition. They're not a sponsor.
But you know what, though?
They're not sponsoring this podcast.
There's 3 letters in each one. And,
it's FBI, ACT. There's lots of
and so go to the FBI conference. That's
TMI.
So yes, T4G is happening in April, and so listeners of Doctrine Devotion, you guys get a special discount code. Use the code Doctrine, and you could save $10. And right now you're still in early bird pricing through October 31st. You want to head on over there now, Joe. There's going to be some good people out there.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to sit through guys like Ligon Duncan and Mark Dever, I mean...
Yawn.
Oh, my gosh. I seriously... Ligon Duncan and Mark Dever is enough for me to go to a conference, to be honest. Those guys alone. But
I'd go when it's just Ligon.
Yeah, I would just go if it was League.
I would go if it...
But then you got John Piper, Kevin DeYoung, or... Kevin Deasy, Al Mohler, H.B. Charles, Greg Gilbert, Trip Lee, Ed Moore, David Platt, and Richard Chin. So you're going to get fed. You go to a conference like this, and I just had somebody at my community group last night. They're new to the church, and he says, I've never gone to Together for the Gospel, and my friend is going, who lives down that way, and he said that I should go. Should I go? That's what he asked me. Should I legitimately go? And I said, absolutely, you should go. A, there's going to be great teaching. B, you're going to hear like 10,000 people singing songs together.
Oh, I know how much you love that.
That alone is huge. Plus, fellowship with all these believers. It's going to be great. And then Brian Malcolm chimed up. And if you use the Doctrine and Devotion discount code, you'll save $10.
Thanks, Pastor Brian.
Really, really good stuff. It's April. It's coming up, man. April 14th through the 16th in 2020. So early 2020. Plenty of time, but get in early so you get that early bird special and our discount code.
So, Joe, as we're looking at this list, then we're rounding it out here. What else would you suggest?
All right, let's go. Let's do some evangelism.
All right,
let's do. Now, there's all kinds of great books on evangelism. Evangelism and the Sovereignty of God. Most people would probably put that in there. Your first year of a Calvinist, you're going to be wrestling with those kind of questions. Is this a paradox? Is this an antinomy? Antinomy, as Packer says. And that's a great book to read, definitely. But I'm going to change it up and say The Art of Man Fishing by Boston. Man. Thomas Boston wrote this when he was in his 20s. Art of Man Fishing sounds a little progressive, we might say, today. Like, you might not want to title your book The Art of Man Fishing today because it sounds a little questionable. But
yeah, because today it's the art of catfishing.
Yeah, it's more like that. But the Art of Man Fishing, right? Jesus tells his disciples, "I'm going to make you fishers of men." Mm-hmm. And this is a tiny little book that is a great encouragement to people. And plus, it touches on this idea of preparationism, which I think we maybe have talked about that.
Maybe we've talked about it. Yep.
So from the Puritan perspective, Art of Man Fishing, because listen, the last thing we need is a Calvinist that's going to actually reflect the stereotype that we don't believe in evangelism. We do believe in evangelism. The greatest evangelists throughout history, most of them, I think, have been Calvinists, thoroughgoing Calvinists. And so if in that first year, you're going to want to be feeding into that, right? You're going to want, not just to make people Calvinists, right? You want to be zealous for the gospel. Yeah. You want to see people come to know Jesus. And if they go charismatic or traditionalist instead of Calvinist, whatever, man.
They know the Lord. They have that hope.
All right, so that's going to be one. Jimmy, what about something that is like people would say, well, it's kind of a given. Like, what?
Oh, well, obviously you'd want to go with your Calvin's Institutes.
It's not what you, if you haven't read it, it's not what you think.
No.
It's devotional. It's rich. And
it's beautiful.
It is so different from other things that you're going to be reading. It really is. And it's also going to, because it is like a systematic theology.
It just keeps connecting and building upon each other. Yeah,
right. It does. And he's got whole sections on there, like a big section on doubt. You didn't know that would be in there, probably, right? Man, you got to get in on that. I totally agree. And then, lastly, we're going to encourage you guys to read another little book, also by Matthew Henry, same guy that wrote Quest for Meekness. This one's called The Pleasantness of a Religious Life.
I have not read that.
Now, that is what John Piper was trying to write when he wrote Desiring God. This is just earlier and better. Desiring God's a great book.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us again how Pope Piper is not good?
That's good. Did I ever tell you? Did I tell everybody, our listeners, that I was at this table with John Piper? We were having lunch, and it was all these guys. John Piper was there. I was there.
And so Piper wanted to have lunch with you?
Well, I got a text. Steve McCoy and I. We got a text. Hey, man, John Piper wants to have lunch with you.
What? Are you kidding me?
And I was like, get out. We were at like pastor's conference up in Minnesota.
And so
that's what Piper. I was told. I think it was Justin Taylor who said.
Justin Taylor over at Crossway, yeah?
Justin was like, John Piper wants to have lunch with you.
And yet, JT is great.
So
I'm going to give a shout out to JT because JT is great.
Well, we show up, and it turns out that's just what Justin says when he wants people to show up for a lunch with John Piper. John Piper didn't know who we were. John Piper didn't know anything about us. And so I'm there. And I remember we were talking about it. He was asking us about each of our lives and what was going on. So I was telling him how my dad became a Christian like a year before. And he's reading all these books, And I was like, he's read your books. He's read and in the midst of it, I go, man, he really, really liked this book that you wrote. But his favorite is Tim Keller. And I didn't think that was a bad thing to say.
Of course you had to say that.
But I got dogged by a lot of people for telling.
So I'm pretty sure, did Piper ever want to have lunch with you again?
I don't think he wanted to have lunch with you the first time, Jimmy. So, but the pleasantness.
No wonder Barnabas doesn't like you.
Barnabas loves me.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is. It is totally true.
It's not true.
You are bearing false witness right now against Barnabas. Ninth commandment breaker. You should read Watson. Anyway, the pleasantness of a religious life is, when the Puritans say a religious life, they mean the Christian life. Yeah. Because there is only, for them, there's one religion.
Yeah. It doesn't have that connotation that we have today about religiosity.
Right. Exactly. So there's one religion, Christianity, and then there's false religion. So that's how they talk about it. Plus, the Bible likes the word religious, right? This is true religion, James says, right? Keep yourself unstained by the world, take care of orphans and widows. Anyways. This book is great. It is devotional. It is encouraging. And I read this along with some brothers while we were in seminary just to get together and have some fellowship. And it was really, really helpful. And I've loved taking other people through it since then. Really good book. So if you are a young Calvinist, if you are just starting to get into these things, these are 10 books. And they're linked all in the show notes, so you can check them out.
Yeah, maybe.
And tell you what. If you buy them through Amazon, that's one way you can support the podcast because those Amazon links kick back a tiny percentage to us, and that helps us to pay for our website and hosting and all that stuff. Jimmy's conditioner, whatever. I don't know what else it goes to.
Yeah, Brazilian blowout.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, well, I do that.
There's a lot of volume in that air.
Yeah, Brazilian blowout.
Okay. But you know what? What did you know
what's really awkward is only the ladies are going to understand what I'm saying.
Brazilian blowout?
Yes, that's what
I heard that's not the only Brazilian treatment you get, though. Is that right, Jimmy? So anyways, we would like to hear what you read during your first year. I mean, there's all kinds.
You left me speechless.
What are you talking about?
You left me speechless.
Those eyebrows have been treated. That's all I'm saying.
I can't believe you.
You've done some. I've seen you with some treatment before.
Just stop.
We would like to know, what did you read in your first year or so of being a young Calvinist that proved to be really helpful? I know a lot of you are going to say, I read A.W. Pink. The problem is like I did too. And you read A.W. Pink, The Sovereignty of God, you might go full tilt for a year or two. Even though I'm not saying don't read it. It's a great book. I'm having our elder candidates read that book along with a bunch of others.
Yeah, but they're a bit more mature.
Yeah, they're a bit more mature. So be careful with what you read. But we'd like to know, what did you read? And then and share that, right? Because somebody, maybe they've already read some of the books we recommended, or maybe like there's some better options for them. So you can share. Jimmy, if they want to share what they are reading, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can follow us online on Instagram and Twitter at Doc and Devo, or on Facebook /Doctrine and Devotion. You can head to the website, drdevotion.com. There you can contact us. You can sign up for the email blast or hit up the store, jofostore.com, and grab some gear. Fresh pod every Monday and Thursday, blog post on Wednesdays. Later.